Hello, welcome to Network. My name is Pumelele Zondi with your technology and social media news. Now remember that if you want to be a part of this tech conversation, you must hashtag SABC Network. You can also find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Here's what's coming up in the program. South Africans organize a social media blackout, but it doesn't seem like that many people participated in the campaign. Nokia mobile devices are returning to the South African market. HMD has announced 3 new Nokia smartphones. Our discussion is on how advertisers should respond to online backlash about their work. Joining me for that discussion is Brad Riley from BBDO. Hello, Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm all right. Now, should online advertisers respond to this backlash?
If they take their business seriously, you've got to respond seriously to consumer reaction.
All right. That conversation is coming up later in the program. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Many seem to have largely ignored the call to stay away from social media a few days ago. Some suggested this as they said network providers must reduce internet costs. The calls were under the hashtags social media blackout and social media shutdown. South Africans continuously complain about high internet costs.
Data is too expensive. I feel like people shouldn't be paying so much.
Like maybe 50 rands a day just to go on Facebook. It's very much expensive.
I spend a lot of money on data, so that's a must for all.
Some organized hashtag social media blackout and hashtag social media shutdown. This was with the hope it would make internet providers feel the pain of having no customers for a day.
Information is key for us. We live in an information age. We live in the digital age. So for us to be able to access information, which is exactly the core fundamental of what assists us as a society to move forward, we need to kill the prices.
On the day the online protests were organized, both topics trended suggesting that people were on social media and didn't actually heed the call.
There are people whose livelihoods are dependent on activities on social media. For instance, there are certain business people or small businesses that are making money through getting in touch with their customers online or using social media. And secondly, we are just addicted to social media. We cannot stay, some of us, 10 minutes, 5 minutes without checking what's happening on Facebook, what's happening on Twitter, what's happening on WhatsApp. For instance, in my WhatsApp family group, I think when I woke up in the morning at around 8 or 9, I had about 20 messages.
In the past, there have been other methods to ask network providers to lower data costs, like the hashtag data must fall. Gift of the Givers is the largest South African humanitarian organization. They've done work in Syria, Haiti, and they're currently helping the victims of the Knysna fires. Gift of the Givers has teamed up with SAP to launch an app so donors don't have to go to the bank if they want to assist. It's for both Android and iOS.
When it comes to charity, it's usually a long process. You either have to be physically there or you have to go through a bank transfer. We wanted to make it as few clicks as possible where you can deliver or donate 1 rand, 5 rands, it doesn't really matter, and make that entire process seamless. So those were our objectives, but also at the same time to ensure that from a social responsibility perspective, we are adding to the Gift of the Givers outreach into South Africa. SAP has a cloud platform that many of the large enterprises around the world now use to build innovation products on, to change their business processes and extend SAP solutions that they actually have. This cloud platform is available across the globe and it is something that is free to develop on. So using the cloud platform was the best way to go because it allowed us to develop an app very quickly at low cost and then make it available to everyone 24/7 without having to install any IT hardware for Gift of the Givers or for the payment systems that we use. We are using a third-party payments engine, one that has been proven into the market, that is secure, that gives us the flexibility to transact using any credit card method, and one that will ensure that there is no fraud or any other activities like that.
Nokia mobile devices are returning to sub-Saharan Africa. They want to start with 3 Android smartphones here at home. HMD is confident that they found a winning formula to make the Nokia brand popular again.
This is the new Nokia 6. It's one of 3 smartphone devices that Nokia is launching in South Africa. HMD says with its features, the new Nokia is mostly targeted at young people.
On the Nokia, on all the devices, Nokia 3, 5 and 6, they all have an 8 megapixel wide-angle front-facing camera. The Nokia 3 has a quad-core processor. It has 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gig of memory. The Nokia 5 has, once again, it's got that 8 megapixel on the front. It's got a 13 megapixel on the camera on the back. It's got an octa-core processor, Qualcomm Snapdragon 430 processor. Also 2 gig RAM, 16 gig of memory. And the Nokia 6 has got the 8 megapixel on the front. It's got a 16 megapixel camera on the rear. And then it has 3 gig of RAM and 32 gig of onboard memory.
In the beginning, when cell phones became popular, no one could rival Nokia. But they struggled to compete as phones became smarter. HMD Global is confident that their new Android devices will do well.
What's really important here is when you hold these devices and you feel these devices, the quality that you're going to get, it's a case of we've really focused on that design and craftsmanship. So things like Gorilla Glass, bright, vibrant displays, the right memory configuration for this target market, that's what we've really focused on.
The new Nokia phones will retail between 2,000 and 4,000 Rand.
In celebration of Youth Month, we went to Tech Hubs to find out how technology and digital transformation affect the day-to-day life of young people.
Having the internet, it allows people to have greater productivity in things that they do.
Technology has impacted my life very positively because now I can basically communicate with anyone around the world.
Stuff gets out there just quick, you know, like we shoot something yesterday, we can upload it on YouTube already. Yeah, because I work for a digital content company.
Now, last week, our children came under heavy fire for a Father's Day ad that was seen not to represent South African society. People took to social media to share their grievances. A junior was blamed for the error, but as ads move online and as communication is largely online, how should these issues be dealt with? And does such oversight speak to the lack of diversity in South Africa's advertising space? Now, to further this discussion with us is BBDO Executive Creative Director Brad Riley. Hello, Brad.
How are you?
I'm all right. Now, Brad, blaming such oversight on a junior, is that the right response?
I think that's inexcusable. You have to take responsibility as a company for anything that you put out there. It's not good enough to say, whatever, it's the dog ate my homework. You know, you've got to stand up and take accountability.
We are seeing a lot of ads moving online now. Does that mean that the rules change from what people were used to when ads were in a print format, when they were on billboards and when they were on television?
I don't think it changes. I think as an industry, our job is to create communication that resonates with people. I think what has changed is the immediate response that you can get from the online space and the social media space, etc. I mean, I think before social media, if you put something out there that offended people or that people liked, they would speak about it round the braai. You know, now, like, there's a braai, but it's got millions of people at it, and there's microphones at it, and it's being broadcast across the country and across the world.
Everyone has a view and different views about every issue. Should every little view be taken seriously on social media?
I think you've got to have a filter, but you've also got to be aware of what the conversation is that's going on. And if it starts to gain some kind of critical mass, you've got to take that stuff seriously. You know, I mean, it can be a good place. Social media can also be can go very wrong for you.
what this conversation also led to is a conversation about diversity as well, because in fact that's what the criticism was about. The ad, as well as the Mother's Day ad that Outsurance put out, were not diverse enough. They are not a true representation of South African demographics. 19 white people, 1 black person, is seen as good fathers. And some people are even suggesting that it's showing that there's a lack of diversity in the ad industry.
Well, it's very high on the agenda of all industry bodies. Obviously, there's the legislative imperative, but I think beyond that, it's something that's very important to all the bodies. It has been slow, but there's steps being taken to try and transform that in various angles in the industry.
You did speak briefly about the quick reaction that one can get on social media, whether good or bad. But what about the shelf life that advertisements have online as well? Does that have an impact on how the industry should react? Because if it's on television, there's a complaint, you can pull it off TV and it's gone forever. If it's online, not quite.
Well, I think the nature of it being online is it can be shared, so that conversation can get bigger and more people can join that conversation. I do think, though, the reality of the world we live in, the digital world, there's so much content out there and so much stuff happening all the time that, sure, it may exist still online, but that conversation moves on fairly quickly. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. You know, it can be a good thing, but it's often a bad thing that these things get forgotten about. I mean, stuff as big as war kind of gets forgotten about in 3 weeks' time.
And it's not necessarily a good thing a lot of the time. But it's not the first time that an organization in South Africa has come under fire for its advertising, especially with social media conversations. What do you think the ad industry in South Africa is getting wrong?
Getting wrong? Well, I think they get it wrong occasionally, they get it right occasionally. I think there's, and using this specific example as a reference, I think it's advertising 101 that you should be representative of the people that you're talking to. So I think when you get that wrong, that's a very basic thing. I think then to take that onto a deeper level, it's about not just being representative, but then being relevant. You know, and trying to create relevance for a market that you are talking to.
And the conversations that are happening about the different parts of South Africa happening on ads that that go up online, for example, because we touched briefly on the criticism of diversity, but there was also criticism on the representation of different segments of society. One segment, some people were saying, as they were criticizing, is seen as largely one thing, and which is often negative, and one segment of society is seen as largely one thing, which is largely positive. And do you think that the ad industry is aware of the changing nature of South African society as well, and people as they climb up the economic ladder as well?
Well, I think it goes back to your question around transformation, and I think diversity is important from an advertising industry point of view in terms of the agencies that dictates the kind of work that you start getting out, and that applies to multiple things. That applies to race, it applies to gender, applies to religion, and I think as that diversification happens, you start to see different kind of work coming out. That's more culturally sensitive or culturally appropriate. So I think that's kind of the challenge and something that is on the agenda.
Brad, if you were to advise anyone who works for an advertising agency about how they should react on criticism they get online, what would you say to them? React quickly.
And react properly and consciously. I think it goes back to the same approach to what work you put out there. Share that work first amongst people, amongst a diverse group of people to get a view. In terms of how you respond, check that response before you respond. But you can't bury your head in the sand. You've got to take it on and stand up to it. And I mean, Outsurance have come out kind of to apologise.
Eventually.
Yeah. I don't think they're blaming it on the junior as the right thing, but I think they've now kind of trying to take accountability for it.
All right. Brett Riley from BBDO, thank you very much for being a part of our network.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sure. Now, we caught up with actor and presenter Mxolisi Masango, and he told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
And now, I'm in the study of the head of the Russian mob, trying to hack in his computer in my damn underwear.
Namhla, kokumoya. Singayenza lento ukheka ama-computer kulula kabi.
How's it, guys? My name is Mxolisi Masango, actor as well as television presenter for Air Expressions on SABC 1. My favorite gadget is the Samsung S7 Edge VR goggles. Those are really amazing. First of all, it enhances the gaming experience. I like playing Pac-Man on it. I like playing virtual birds on it because you can literally feel the texture of those birds as they fly past. Yeah, not advisable when you're driving.
All right, so now it is SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, China performs its first knee replacement surgery using 3D printed knee joints replicas. McDonald's uses Snapchat to hire new employees. Now, these are some of the stories that made tech headlines in the last week.
A 22-year-old man with hemophilia became the country's first beneficiary of knee surgery with 3D printing technology on Thursday after doctors in Kunming of southwest China's Yunnan province successfully replaced his knee joints with 3D printed replicas.
We first established a 3D model on computer based on his CT image, and then we used a 3D printer to print a thigh bone and a shin bone replicas, which are exactly identical with the patient's bones. We also planned the bone setting process on computer to ensure the replicas can be implanted precisely.
However, the risk of hemorrhage can be avoided in an operation with 3D printing technology, as the artificial 3D printed parts could precisely dovetail the patient's knees, making the bone setting process of the operation much more easier. Now off we go to the US of A. The fast food giant McDonald's is planning to hire 250,000 new staff in the United States using Snapchat to get the message out, according to reports. CNN said that starting on Tuesday, the company will roll out a series of 10-second Snapchat ads. Viewers will then be able to go to the company's website to apply for jobs at restaurants. Now headed to Thailand. Messaging app Line opens theme park in Bangkok. The messaging app, known for its vast array of emoticon characters, hails from South Korea.
There are two parts to the Line Village Bangkok. The first part is the Line Village store, which has now opened, selling licensed Line product. We will also have a 200 square meter snack bar cafe. And the second part will be the Line Village Bangkok, which is an indoor theme park.
The three-story theme park is expected to welcome at least 12 million foreign tourists per year.
Huawei has launched its Watch 2 in South Africa. Eloise Goebel tried it out. Here's what she thinks of it.
So Huawei says their Watch 2 is made for active users, and I came to the gym to find out exactly how active it can get.
As the name suggests, it's the second of the Huawei watches that is being released. They say there are changes from the first one.
The first one was more about the design, the fashion element, with a bit of technology in there. It was our first version, so again we were trying to understand the space of the wearable market. Through all of those learnings and that experience, with this, like the slogan says, free spirits, we understand that you're going to be a businessman, you're going to be a journalist, a reporter in the morning, and at the end of the day you're still going to go into the gym and you want to be a fitness fanatic as well. So this allows you to be the free spirit. It's a fusion of all these into one. So it's being cool and it's a practicality at the same time.
One of the many features on the watch is that it does measure heart rate, and I'm kind of unfit, so let me know if I get a heart attack. And there we go.
This watch doesn't have to be paired with your cell phone, as with most watches. It can have its own SIM card, so it can have a separate number from your phone.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Louise?
Are you enjoying your workout?
I am enjoying my workout. I'm actually working up quite a sweat at the moment.
That's good. So would you consider buying a Huawei watch too?
Oh, definitely. It's doing wonders for my heart rate here, and it has let me know that I'm not dead yet.
Oh, that's cool. And please try out the other functions as well.
I will do that.
Bye.
Bye.
It runs Android Wear 2.0. It is compatible with Android and iOS.
So it was a low impact workout, and here are all the details. I walked for 9 minutes. I had 232 steps. That was 22 steps a minute. I burned 36 calories, and my heart rate started out at 60, and it went up to 121. Not bad. See, that's my heart rate right through there. It went up and down a bit. That's the part where I got nervous. And there we go.
If you're a swimmer, then this one is for you as well.
The Huawei Watch 2 is waterproof up to 1 meter in water. So I'm going to have it tested quickly and see what we can do. And there we go.
The Huawei Watch 2 has NFC functionality. It has Bluetooth, GPS, 4G, and can pick up Wi-Fi. And it costs more than 5,000 Rand.
Our Twitter poll has been asking if you participated in the social media blackout. Now, 29% of respondents say they did. 60% said they did not. That is the overwhelming majority of respondents. In last place is 11% who say they felt cheated. Maybe that's because many said they would, and then they didn't. And that's all we have for you. Find us on SABC Network. Now that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's newsnetwork@sabc.co.za on email. From me and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Bye-bye.